Sweden designs it, Sweden builds it, Sweden flies it, and yet Sweden doesn't fully control who can buy it. The Saab Gripen appears to be a fully Swedish fighter, engineered in Swedish factories, flown by Swedish pilots. But one component changes everything: its engine. Every Gripen in service today uses the American-built General Electric F414, one of the most reliable fighter engines ever produced, backed by a global support network. The problem? It falls under U.S. export law. Known as ITAR, the International Traffic in Arms Regulations requires U.S. government approval for any export of defense systems containing controlled components. That approval is political, not automatic. For Sweden, this means that every Gripen sale anywhere in the world depends on Washington's consent, turning a technical part into a strategic limitation. This dependency became real in 2025. Colombia entered advanced negotiations to purchase Gripen fighters. The aircraft met operational needs. Pricing was competitive, but U.S. approval for the F414 engine never came. The deal stalled, and Colombian President Gustavo Petro publicly criticized the outcome as external interference. Norway faced a similar situation in 2008, ultimately favoring the F-35 despite evaluating Gripen. Yet Gripen continues to attract operators for a reason. It's not about size, stealth, or raw power. It's about efficiency, resilience, and readiness. Flight hours cost roughly $27,000, far below most Western fighters. The Czech Republic has flown over 38,000 hours across 2 decades with consistently high reliability. Gripen's true strength is operational flexibility. It can take off from an 800-meter stretch of road just 16 meters wide, operate from highways or improvised bases, and be refueled and rearmed in under 10 minutes. It performs reliably in extreme conditions, from -40 to +50 degrees Celsius, allowing small crews to keep the aircraft combat-ready while others remain grounded. 7 countries across 4 continents operate the Gripen, drawn by its readiness and efficiency. What makes this philosophy distinctive is that the Gripen was never designed to dominate airspace, but to maximize availability. Swedish doctrine prioritizes fast turnaround, dispersed basing, and operations. At the center of its global limits is the engine, the American-built General Electric F414. Technically excellent, reliable, and globally supported, it powers the Gripen's performance. But because it's US-made, every export requires Washington's approval, turning a world-class engine into a strategic dependency. This creates a paradox. The very component that helps make the Gripen affordable, reliable, and combat-ready is also the one that limits how freely it can be sold. And that paradox is what opened the door to a controversial question. What if the engine were replaced? Contrary to popular belief, the Gripen has never been a purely Swedish industrial product. Nearly 40% of its components originate from the United Kingdom, a higher proportion than found in several larger European fighter programs. That long-standing relationship quietly reshapes the engine debate. This is why Rolls-Royce often enters the conversation, not as an active replacement program, but as a logical European industrial partner. Its experience in modular sustainment shapes debate. Rolls-Royce is part of the Eurojet consortium alongside partners in Germany, Spain, and Italy. This group produces the EJ200 engine used in the Eurofighter Typhoon. An upgraded variant, often referred to as the EJ230, has been proposed with thrust output exceeding that of the F414. In 2020, feasibility studies conducted by GKN Aerospace examined whether a European-built engine could be integrated into the Gripen airframe. The attraction was obvious. A European power plant would eliminate U.S. export restrictions entirely. No ITAR approvals, no external veto power, and full autonomy over sales and partnerships. For Sweden, this wouldn't just be an engineering choice, it would be a strategic one. Replacing a fighter jet engine isn't like swapping components in a commercial vehicle. The engine defines the aircraft. It determines airflow through the intakes, thermal management, structural loads, and the aircraft's center of gravity. Changing the power plant would require redesigned air intakes, structural modifications to the rear fuselage, new ducting systems, and extensive changes to cooling and control systems. This wouldn't be a minor upgrade. It would trigger years of flight testing, certification, and validation before the aircraft could return to operational service. As one defense analyst summarized it, this process would effectively create a new aircraft that only looks like the existing Gripen. The cost implications are enormous. Development timelines stretch into the decade range, and technical risk increases at every stage. What sounds like a clean political solution quickly becomes a complex engineering and financial gamble, one that only makes sense under very specific conditions. The idea of swapping the Gripen's engine also comes with a clear economic reality. Industry estimates suggest that a new engine program would only become cost-effective after roughly 200 aircraft orders. Sweden alone has committed to 60 Gripen E fighters, with Brazil adding 36 more. Without multiple large international customers, the development costs would be spread too thin, driving the unit price sharply upward, potentially negating Gripen's affordability advantage. This explains why countries evaluating new fighter fleets like Canada could influence the equation. A major order from a non-US partner might bring the program closer to viability, but even then, the cost, time, and technical challenges remain formidable. In short, replacing the F414 isn't just a political or strategic decision. It's a calculation where economics, engineering, and geopolitics collide. At this stage, the discussion remains theoretical. Engine choices are conservative commitments. Until funding, orders, and political alignment converge, a European Gripen remains a scenario, not a roadmap. Despite online speculation, it's important to be clear. No Gripen has ever flown with a Rolls-Royce engine. There are no prototypes, no test programs, and no official Saab announcements. What exists are feasibility studies, industry discussions, and strategic debates, nothing more. Many viral claims exaggerate these possibilities, blending analysis with dramatic narration to attract clicks. While it's tempting to imagine a fully European Gripen, the reality remains far more cautious. Every current Gripen contract specifies the American F414 engine. This distinction matters. Confusing speculation with fact can mislead governments, analysts, and enthusiasts alike. Right now, the Gripen's potential engine swap is exactly that. Potential, not ongoing. Strategic debate continues, but development programs have not yet begun. The Gripen remains one of the most efficient, adaptable, and cost-effective fighters in the world. Its ability to operate from short roads, survive extreme climates, and stay combat-ready with minimal support sets it apart. Yet its reliance on the American F414 engine imposes a strategic limitation. Sweden can build and operate the aircraft, but US export rules influence where it can be sold. A European engine, like a potential Rolls-Royce EJ230, could remove that constraint, but only at enormous cost, with years of engineering, testing, and uncertainty. For now, the Gripen exemplifies a balance between operational excellence and political reality, exceptional in capability, yet bounded by strategy.